Well, while the rest of the world might be ready to move on with a President Biden White House, the outgoing Trump administration is trying to make things as difficult as possible. Of course, the pumpkin can't leave quietly. Trump's administration has yet to sign off on any documentation needed to start the transition process between outgoing President Donald Trump and incoming President-elect Joe Biden. General Services Administration Administrator Emily Murphy, the whole thing starts with her signing a letter to release funds to the Biden transition team. Right now, Joe Biden can't even pay his transition team to get up to speed to be ready to be president come January. Now, it's been more than 48 hours since the election has been called in favor of Joe Biden, yet Murphy has not signed off on one penny to let Joe Biden start his transition process. Trump also, he has so far refused to concede the race, and he has been making baseless claims of election fraud. And everybody's saying election fraud, election fraud, election fraud. And I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I am sure that they can come up with 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or even 50 dead people who may have voted even though they are dead. It's possible. I'm not saying that every single vote made out of 300 million votes in every state was legitimate. It would be absurd to say that. However, it is also extraordinarily absurd to say that there were 10,000 or 20,000 or even 40 or 50,000 votes that were made up votes in one particular state, because Joe Biden, he won the states that Trump is calling fraud on by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 votes. There is no way in the world that they're going to come up with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 dead people who voted. There's no way, or 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 fraudulent ballots. And the reality is, if they were able to do it, it would have already been come out in the news. It would be all over the news. Trump would already be tweeting it. He would be tweeting it. He would be saying, look, here's the evidence. He has to be able to show some sort of evidence or legality to what he's saying, but he's not. He's just saying big, big lies. It kind of reminds me of something that a very famous, evil man by the name of Adolf Hitler once said: if you're going to tell a lie, tell as big a lie as you can, because the bigger the lie, the more believable it is. So Trump, for his whole entire career, certainly as president of the United States, has told huge, big lies. This is as big a lie as any, that he had the election stolen from him, that there is fraud. He says these big things, but where's the beef? There is no beef. There is no evidence. Nobody has ever come out with any evidence. And what I have seen behind the scenes, I've seen senators basically say that behind the scenes, all the Republican senators are saying, we already know Joe Biden's going to be the president. We've already congratulated him, but we can't come out and publicly say anything at the moment. Attorney General William Barr, he told federal prosecutors that they should examine allegations of voting irregularities before states move to certify results, although there's been no evidence of any fraud. If there was actual fraud, William Barr would have told the U.S. attorney, go investigate this. Go investigate this particular thing. But he didn't. He just said, go investigate fraud, because they don't even know where to point to. The Justice's top department election crimes prosecutor, Richard Pilger, he resigned in protest. And still, the GOP is still defending Donald Trump publicly, although several top Republicans acknowledged there was very little chance the outcome is going to be changed. In the stupidest remark of the day, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo told reporters, there will be a very smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Yeah, right. Now, today, speaking in Wilmington, Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden dismissed Trump's refusal to concede the election as not very consequential to his efforts to begin transition planning, and said it did not reflect well on Trump. Now, it is consequential because Joe Biden doesn't have any money or funds to pay his transition team to start. It's a big process to go take over the U.S. government. You just don't walk into the Oval Office on day one and say, I'm here, let's start being president. You got to prepare for it. And Trump is not making Biden's team in a good position by giving them no money to make this transition so that on day one, Biden can jump right in and be president. Now, what Biden said in Wilmington, Delaware, he said, I just think it's an embarrassment, quite frankly. How can I say this tactfully? I think it's not going to help the president's legacy. Now, Biden racked up the 270 electoral college votes to clinch the presidency on Saturday. Trump, as we already talked about, has falsely claimed the election was stolen. His campaign mounts legal challenges in several states. And just coincidentally, the only states where there was fraud was Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, and Nevada, which were the closest vote totals between Trump and Biden. And also, just coincidentally, there was only fraud in the presidential election. All the Republican senators who won their election, no fraud. Now, today, Biden also spoke to the leaders of the United Kingdom, Germany, France, other European nations, and they all singularly and in totality congratulated him on his victory. Europe and the world outside of Russia and China and Brazil are all recognizing Joe Biden as the president-elect of the United States. Now, Biden said Trump's unwillingness to acknowledge his election victory is not of much consequence to his transitions team's ability to plan, and that he's communicated to world leaders that America is back. Now, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments this morning to discuss whether to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act. As everyone knows, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. At least 5 justices, including 2 members of the court's conservative majority, Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Roberts, indicated that they were not inclined to strike down Obamacare. Isn't that quite ironic that Donald Trump, Justice Kavanaugh, the biggest beer drinking and alleged molesting Supreme Court justice, the one that Donald Trump said is going to carry on Donald Trump's legacy, is going to end up being the deciding vote to keep Obamacare. Now, this ruling is ultimately going to impact tens of millions of Americans, including roughly 20 million low-income adults. Also at risk are provisions protecting those with pre-existing conditions and allowing children on parents' health insurance plans until the age of 26. And when you say pre-existing conditions, let me break that down very simply for you. What Donald Trump and the Republicans are asking the Supreme Court to do is to say, if you have insurance and you want to switch your insurance company and you have any illness whatsoever, your new insurance company does not have to insure your new illness. You have cancer and you want to switch from Oxford to Aetna, guess what? You're not going to be able to. And then Oxford can charge you whatever you want. Or God forbid you get cancer and you now want to buy insurance, you won't be able to do it because you have a pre-existing condition. This is what Donald Trump wants the Supreme Court to break down, to invalidate. And he says that's going to make medical insurance better in the United States. And quite frankly, the only thing it would do is make medical insurance companies more money because they don't have to pay out for people who are sick. Now, during the presidential campaign, Trump repeatedly said he's going to come up with an alternative to Obamacare, but he never did. His 3 Supreme Court appointees, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, they're all going to play a deciding role in this law, but it looks like Brett Kavanaugh is going to be the deciding vote in favor of Obamacare. Now, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there are now over 51.2 million coronavirus cases worldwide. Over 1.2 million people have died. Over 33.5 million people have recovered. In the United States, there's more than 10 million people have been diagnosed with COVID. America has more than 238,000 deaths. Over 3.9 million people have recovered. On yesterday's episode, we talked about the good news of Pfizer vaccine, which early data has suggested is more than 90% effective. Let's talk about this Pfizer vaccine for a second. They are going to come out with it probably in late December. They are going to have enough vaccinations for the entire United States of America by the end of 2021, in about 12 months from now. In order to be vaccinated, the actual vaccination has to stay in a refrigerated unit that is minus 98 degrees. It is a new technology. They are not putting in a dead virus into your body that's going to make an immune reaction to fight off the coronavirus with antibodies. Instead, they are manipulating RNA, which is a form of DNA that goes into your body. They're going to manipulate it in a way that does not allow the COVID vaccine to attach to whatever it attaches to in your body that would actually cause it to make you sick. What this vaccine is going to do is the COVID will go into your body, but it's not going to attach to anything in your body that will make you sick or attack your body. They say it is going to be, at this point, 90% effective, which is far better than even anybody's wildest imagination when they started to do a vaccine 12 months ago, besides the fact that nobody ever developed a vaccine in 12 months. Now, 90% effective is equivalent to what the measles vaccine is. The measles vaccine is 90% effective. And you don't hear anybody with measles anymore. So the reality is, if a majority of Americans take this vaccine, it should effectively wipe out most of COVID. You're never going to get rid of it completely, but it should wipe out most of it by the end of the year. The $1 million question, there's $2 million questions. One, are people going to get sick long-term by taking this vaccine? Nobody knows. Number two, will the government, will the drug companies, will the insurance companies want you to take it as well, because it's a lot cheaper to give a vaccine than it is to treat you when you get sick with COVID. Are they going to be able to communicate to the American public that it is safe to take this vaccine? If they're able to do it, people believe the science behind it, and people believe that ultimately they are safer by taking a vaccine than not taking a vaccine, meaning that you are protected from COVID, but maybe in the future something else will happen. But if you believe that you're safer by taking the vaccine than not taking it, we ultimately should have COVID under control, at least in my opinion, by the end of 2021. Now, with all of that being said, the stock market rallied sharply. Investors are betting for a full economic reopening once the COVID vaccine goes into effect. And here's a bit of more good news. The FDA said it granted emergency authorization for Eli Lilly's antibody therapy to treat mild to moderate coronavirus infections in adults and children. Meanwhile, again, there's 10 million infections. And of course, Donald Trump, you know what he's saying. The pharmaceutical companies decided to release all this information after the election in order to hurt him. Now, Vice President Mike Pence, he announced Operation Warp Speed program helped accelerate the development of Pfizer's COVID vaccine. But the truth is that Pfizer didn't receive any assistance from Operation Warp Speed. They got assistance in developing this from the German government, although the United States has paid Pfizer for 300 million doses. Subtropical storm Theta formed in the Atlantic Ocean Monday night, making 2020 the most active hurricane season on record, with 29 storms so far. Though Theta is not likely to make landfall, tropical storm Eta made landfall in Lower Matecumbe Key late and flooded South Florida with rain. In Honduras, 38 people have died, 8 remain missing, and more than 60,000 have been evacuated as a result of hurricanes. Emergency disaster plans are also in place for Cuba and Mexico. Guatemala's National Disaster Reduction Coordinator reported Saturday 116 people are missing. Actress and activist Eva Longoria had apologized for remarks made during an interview with MSNBC after she was criticized for appearing dismissive of Black women. Longoria appeared on MSNBC Sunday talking about the presidential election and how important women and people of color were to President-elect Joe Biden's victory. At the time, she said that women of color showed up in a big way. Of course, you saw in Georgia what Black women have done, but Latino women were the real heroines here, beating men in turnout in every state and voting Biden-Harris at an average rate of close to 3-1. That's not necessarily true. There, Latinos came and voted for Donald Trump in Florida. Latinos caused Donald Trump to win in Florida. Latinos voted for Donald Trump in Texas. So it's not necessarily true. She responded after getting a lot of backlash, not only on what may not necessarily be correct, but also in what seemed like a slap in the face to Black women who did vote in large numbers for Joe Biden. She took it back. She said, "My wording was not clear. I deeply regret that Black women have long been the backbone of the Democratic Party, something we have seen played out in this election as well as previous ones." Meanwhile, Lil Wayne is in a little trouble with his love interest, model girlfriend Denise Bidot. She broke up with him over his Trump endorsement. Bidot confirmed their split on Instagram, where she posted, "Sometimes love just isn't enough," alongside a broken heart emoji. Love B. Scott reports that the split was caused by the rapper's support for Trump, with his recent photo op with Donald Trump being the last straw. Meanwhile, model Bella Hadid thinks rapper Lil Pump is a loser for endorsing Donald Trump. She shared her anti-Pump thoughts via Instagram, posting a photo of the artist wearing Trump gear with 4 women holding up a pro-Trump sign. Pump captioned the photo, "Trump 2020. Hadid wrote on her Instagram story, "This is so irresponsible. This kid is a loser." Pump attended Trump's late night rally Monday in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he mistakenly called the Gucci Gang rapper Lil Pimp when introducing him to the crowd. Meanwhile, Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton, they are now engaged. Country singer and the Voice judge Blake Shelton popped the question to girlfriend Gwen Stefani, also a judge on The Voice, and she said yes. And while there's been speculation about where Gwen falls on the political spectrum, a lot of people are rooting that she and Shelton can overcome any political disagreements. The couple took to Instagram 2 weeks ago with a picture of Stefani sporting a new ring with the caption, "At Blake Shelton, yes please." Shelton shared the same post and captioned it, "Hey, at Gwen Stefani, thanks for saving my 2020 and the rest of my life. I love you. I heard a yes." Actress Scarlett Johansson, Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost, they also got married. They tied the knot last weekend in an intimate ceremony with their immediate family and loved ones, according to a post from Meals on Wheels, which broke the news, saying it was the couple's wedding wish to call attention to the charity. That's really nice that they sold their wedding announcement to Meals on Wheels, because they could have made money. They didn't sell it. They just gave it away to charity, because they could have made money from selling their announcement and their photos to TMZ or whatever. So that's very nice that they gave it away and gave Meals on Wheels the advertisement, basically free advertisement for Meals on Wheels. The pair got engaged in May 2019 after dating for 2 years. By the way, you think any of these guys, their marriages are going to survive Hollywood? It's so hard to be married these days. And then to be married in Hollywood with all of the spotlight on you and the pressures of maintaining a public profile. I mean, I think it's so difficult these days. I mean, look at me. I got divorced, so I wasn't able to stay married. And so many other people can't stay married. And then add to the fact that, you have the spotlight and you always have to be perfect and look happy. Really, really difficult. I mean, I hope all these marriages survive, but I think the odds are against them. And Cory Booker found out that RuPaul and him are cousins. And now Booker is saying he would love a family reunion with his newly discovered cousin. The New Jersey senator chatted with Wendy Williams about the recent news in an interview that aired on her talk show. Booker found out about his relationship with the Emmy-winning host of RuPaul's Drag Race after participating in the PBS show Finding Your Roots. Cory is RuPaul's cousin, Williams said to the Democratic lawmaker during a virtual interview. Yes, Booker agreed excitedly, explaining how he found out about his genetic link to the world-famous drag queen. I did a 23andMe, but I haven't discovered that I'm related to anybody yet that's famous. And finally, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's daughter, Blue Ivy, has landed her first job at the young age of 8. Blue will narrate the audiobook for Matthew A. Cherry's Hair Love. Fans were quick to comment on Blue's role in the audiobook, with one writing, "Wow, she's only 8 and doing better than me," while another wrote, "This is so cool." A third added, "Go Blue." Well, in defense of whoever wrote, "She's only 8 and doing better than me," if you were the daughter of Jay-Z and Beyonce, maybe you would have got a head up as well. So let's, put everything into perspective. Now, obviously, Blue is no stranger to the spotlight, has made several red carpet appearances with her parents over the years. She has also been featured in several of their songs, including Brown Skin Girl, which won a BET award in July. This is a strange story. Singer Harry Styles had a recent unusual encounter with a fan Only in 2020 would your favorite musician hang out at your house, but you're not there to experience it. That's apparently what happened to Theodora, a self-proclaimed Harry Styles fan, who recently shared on Instagram that she missed an opportunity to meet the musician when his car broke down outside her home. Theodora said in her absence, a family friend let Styles in to wait for his car to be repaired while he enjoyed some tea, took care of a fish, and left a lovely note. She has since made her post private, but it was also shared by a Styles fan's account. Harry's note read, Theodora, my car broke down on your street, and your dad's friend kindly let me wait at your house with a cup of tea. I'm devastated that we missed each other. I look forward to meeting you soon. Treat people with kindness. All my love, Harry. P.S. I fed the fish. That is really, really funny. And she was a big fan and apparently missed her man. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.